If you truly want to help people, you do not beat the ones that are down more. Hi everybody, welcome. Happy early Thanksgiving if you celebrate it. A quick note, book club, we are starting a new book on December 6th. That is Tuesday at 6 p.m. Pacific. Anybody is welcome to join. If you would like to join, you can just go to carnivoresme.com and there's a join the community tab that will kind of walk you through how to get into Discord. It costs nothing other than getting your hands on the book, and the library is a good option for that if you don't want to spend any money. It's really nice just to get everyone else's perspectives and insights from the books. Please don't forget to like, comment, subscribe. I love hearing from you guys. If you have questions, throw them in the comments. If I don't get to them there, I'll just add them to the next upcoming Q&A. Speaking of book club, we just finished Jordan Peterson's 12 Rules for Life. I've gone over a handful of chapters in a few of my other videos, but I really wanted to go over the section that I was able to discover self-empowerment and really acknowledge where I've been selfish. And when I say selfish, I don't mean it in a negative or a bad context. It just is a decision that benefited me more than others, and that's how I view it. So I hope others don't see this as negative either, because it's not. It just is. When I made a selfish decision, it was just a decision. So we'll start off at Rule 5. It says, do not let your children do anything that makes you dislike them. This section's really, really good if you have kids. I have furry kids, so it actually kind of applies to them. The insight that I got out of this chapter for myself is it's almost like having two people inside of us. We have the active outside persona, and then we have that internal voice. And a lot of times that internal voice says we shouldn't do this, or I shouldn't, do X, Y, Z. And I realized it is almost like a parent-child relationship in a way. That internal voice is trying to guide me to do better choices. And sometimes my external self is like, nah, I'm not gonna listen to you. But if I had just listened to my internal voice, the more wise part of me, I could have avoided a lot of pain and suffering. And that's really what I got out of this, is if you don't let your kids do things that make you dislike them, and so if I don't do things that make me dislike myself, then it's much more pleasant to be around my own self when I'm not fighting internally all the time. When I'm not happy being around myself, I seek solace elsewhere. Or should I used to seek. Through food. I never wanted to be alone by myself with my own thoughts. I didn't like myself. I didn't do what I said I was gonna do ever. And it was just being around somebody I didn't want to be around. And ironically, I'm stuck in my body, so it just made life unpleasant. Next is Rule 6. Set your house in perfect order before you criticize the world. I have thought a lot on this chapter. This is my big epiphany chapter. It's how I've been able to sit down and think through things and get to the conclusion that I've gotten to. This chapter led some really deep thinking for me. How can I expect to fix the world if my house I live in is broken? Should I not fix where I live first before I try to fix where everybody else lives? The passage in the book that really got me sitting and thinking is this. The desire for vengeance, however justified, also bars the way to other productive thoughts. The American English poet T.S. Eliot explained why in his play, The Cocktail Party. One of his characters is not having a good time of it. She speaks of her profound unhappiness to a psychiatrist. She says she hopes that all her suffering is her own fault. The psychiatrist is taken aback. He asks why. She has thought long and hard about this, she says, and has come to the following conclusion. If it's her fault, she might be able to do something about it. If it's God's fault, however, if reality itself is flawed, hell-bent on ensuring her misery, then she's doomed. She couldn't change the structure of reality itself, but maybe she could change her own life. That part of the book is what led me down the thought path of discovering for myself that my actions I was taking around my addiction were selfish. That is also what led me to feel empowered admitting that and acknowledging it. I do not attach shame or guilt when I admit my actions were selfish. They just were. I chose a decision that benefited me over others. I can't go back in time and change that. And I hope if you're watching this, you don't feel shame or guilt around it, because that does nothing. We cannot change the past. Having shame over these choices does nothing but lead to a downward spiral of guilt or the shame of where you're at right now. I've had some not so nice comments, and at first it really bothered me. But then I realized, you know what? I have come so far from where I was at. I'm not even talking about weight. I'm talking about my psychological change, my confidence, how I feel about myself. And there's always people that are going to be wanting to tear us down, to steer us away from the greatest good, because it highlights their faults to them. They don't want people to strive higher than them, because then it highlights how much they're just sitting there and not working on aiming to the greatest good. I talk about accepting ourselves where we're at. There's different ways this can be taken, but this is the way I mean it. No matter what our size is, accepting that we're there, loving ourselves is vital. I fundamentally have been struggling with this lately. To me, there's two very, very stark differences on the spectrum right now. We have the people who are like, no matter what size you are, you're healthy. And then we have the other side of the spectrum where people are just rude and really ugly. And if you're overweight, you're worthless. I am in the center. We need to accept where we're at. We need to love ourselves. But at the same time, be realistic that me being 360 pounds was not healthy. And this has nothing to do with looks. I'm talking about actual health. When I was in my 20s, I weighed about 200 pounds, 220, I hovered there. I was fine then. But the problem is, at 10 years on from being 22, the weight increased, the damage it put on my body in my 20s. Had I been able to address the mental issues then, I wouldn't have made it where I made it. And I feel like a lot of people, at least this is how I felt about myself, I felt like I was getting crushed. Having the body positivity in the sense of, you don't need to lose weight, you're perfect the way you are, you're healthy, and the fact that I want to be healthier and lose weight, getting shamed by them. And then on the other side of it, you have the people that are like, well, you shouldn't have gotten fat in the first place, being shamed by them. And it's like, I felt like I was getting crushed between these two. I don't know if anybody else feels like that, but I want to create a space in the center where if you want to be healthier, you want to be a better version of yourself. And again, this has nothing to do with being skinny or looking prettier, just a better version of you. We have an open space to do that without that pressure from both sides crushing us. In that, I want to offer to anybody that wants to join our Discord, and I say our because it's our community, the Carnivorous Me community, go to the website, as I mentioned previously in the channel, and join. It's not just about book club. We're doing a 6-week challenge right now, and my challenge looks like walking the dogs at least 30 minutes every day, and then 20 to 30 minutes of extra activity on top of that. And my biggest one is having integrity around what I eat. Everyone's putting their goals in there. Some are the same, some are different, but come join us. We are here to support each other because this is not an easy path. Okay, getting back on track for the rest of chapter 6. Jordan mentions Solzhenitsyn quite a bit. He wrote the Gulag Archipelago. I have not read it yet. I eventually want to, but from what I understand, it's a very difficult emotional read. But the synopsis is Alexander was all for the Communist Party in the beginning, and as things kind of turned to the dark side, he realized the mistake he made and he was thrown in the gulags. And he did a lot of soul searching. Jordan Peterson mentions that he took himself apart piece by piece to really uncover truth in himself. And there was some questions that he asked himself, and I have been continuously working on this, asking myself this. The first one is, Had he personally contributed to the catastrophe of his life? If so, how? This is such a difficult thing to do. He had to look at all his past actions. Did his choices he make get him where he was sitting in that moment? And the answer is yes, which then makes me turn around and look at my life. Did my decisions and my choices in the past get me where I'm sitting today? Yes. And that is part of taking responsibility for the selfishness. It is so empowering when we acknowledge our choice got us where we're standing. There's a lot of factors around that. It's not just black and white, but our choices, our decisions got us where we're at. Once that is admitted, then we can see that reality isn't dictating everything for us. We can change, even by the smallest little metric, our choices, which then change our life. Another question is, how can I stop making such mistakes now? If eating cake got me to 360 pounds, how can I stop making such mistakes right now? That is a difficult one, because not only do we have to acknowledge what the mistake is, but why it happened. And that's where that self-reflection came in, using food for comfort, all that stuff. But it has allowed me to not make that mistake. It's allowed me to change immensely. Can I repair the damage done by past failures right now?
Mm-hmm.
Yes. By choosing not to have the carbs, the sugars, the things that I'm addicted to, changes those past mistakes of gorging on and binging on food that was unhealthy mentally and physically for me. I can remedy those past failures right now, every second of every day, by choosing to do carnivore, keto, whatever you're doing, whatever I'm doing, choosing that different option. This also has enabled me to not be ruled by my emotions. I am learning to rule the emotion. I'm not just some beast being controlled by impulses anymore, because that's what I was. I was controlled by impulses, not actually higher thinking, because my logic went out the window when a binge came. And now I'm learning those skills necessary to control the emotion versus, as I said, be ruled by it. This is really great information, but how in the world is it actually put in action? There's a fantastic section in the book that answers that. It says, clean up your life. Consider your circumstances. Start small. Have you taken full advantage of the opportunities afforded to you? Are you working hard on your career or even your job, or are you letting bitterness and resentment hold you back or drag you down? Have you made peace with your brother? Are you treating your spouse and children with dignity and respect? Do you have habits that are destroying your health and well-being? Are you truly shouldering your responsibilities? Have you said what you need to say to your friends and family members? Are there things that you could do, that you know you could do, that would make things better around you? Have you cleaned up your life? If the answer is no, here's something to try. Start to stop doing whatever you know to be wrong. Start stopping today. Don't waste time questioning how you know what you're doing is wrong if you are certain it is. Inopportune questioning can confuse without enlightening, as well as deflect you from action. You can know that something is right or wrong without knowing why. Your entire being can tell you something that you can neither explain nor articulate. Every person is too complex to know themselves completely, and we all contain wisdom that we cannot comprehend. As he said, start small. Stop doing those things that you know you shouldn't be doing. Figure out why you do them, understand it, and then stop doing them. That's really, really easily said, but start small. If you are a food addict, then start changing the small things, like putting up junk that I've walked past 80 times on the counter, getting my house in order, the small things, putting stuff up, doing the laundry that's been sitting on the spare bed for 3 months. These kinds of things No, they don't have anything to do with food, but as I order things around me, it's like dominoes. Things just start falling into order. And then next thing I knew, I was able to easily be like, nah, I'm gonna stop eating bad stuff. That is how we make big changes with the tiny little ones. As always, I always finish my video this way, but I mean it no less today than I ever did the first time. I appreciate everybody. Thank you for being on this journey with me, being my journey buddies, and also encouraging others. A lot of times people just need that encouragement, that belief, because they haven't quite found it in themselves. And the fact that we can do that for each other is amazing. So thank you from the bottom of my heart. I will talk to you guys soon. Bye. I never got it. Let's play the cocktail party.
You know it was coming. As soon as she got up, I'm like, okay, she's gonna walk over.
I didn't actually see her get up. Rose. With that in mind, I just forgot what I was gonna say. My hands on. You know, my hands go blip, 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 like little puppets. To get, she's snoring. This dog is like, lay down, out like a light.
Okay, that's good. All right, enough of that.